First question, do you support a border wall? Yes or no, and why?
I do support a border wall, and I think the president's agenda is very clear in terms of what he wants and what he would like to see. But I can tell you that a border wall alone is not going to solve our illegal immigration problem. You know, there are a number of other things that we have to make sure that we are providing to our Border Patrol officials, such as more technology, more manpower, and more resources altogether. But I think of the right combination of, yes, physical barrier and everything else that I just laid out will get the job done. And then we need to finally move on and have a conversation about immigration reform.
Our economy here is based on oil and gas. Are there any oil and gas regulations or restrictions that you support or would lift?
Well, in general, and one thing that I'll note that I didn't get to talk about in the forum is the regulatory environment as a whole. One thing that I was proud to work on when I was working for Congressman McCall is a policy called one in, two out. And essentially what that policy states is that for every new major economic regulation, regardless of the industry, that same agency, whether it be the EPA and whether it's relating to oil and gas, that same agency has to repeal two previously existing regulations. It's a way to make sure that we're not overburdening the economy or overburdening any one specific industry. And I think that cutting the red tape and doing away with a lot of these excessive regulations is how we continue to keep this economy on track and make sure that we're able to allow it to grow.
Third question, do you support private space industries? If so, why or why not?
Well, I mean, look, I think when you're talking about private space industries, sure, do I support them? Do I think that the taxpayer should be footing the bill for any of it? Absolutely not. Any industry, and I love the idea of private sector. I think that, you know, when you look at the vast amount of innovation that this nation has experienced, it's primarily all come from the private sector. But at the same time, I don't believe in the idea of government subsidies to prop up any one industry that otherwise might fail. So if the private space exploration is something that can stand on its own two legs, sure, I support it. If it's something that is going to require for the U.S. government to step in and use taxpayer dollars to make sure that it succeeds, then no, I do not.
Second to last question. What's the first issue you would tackle if elected into office?
Well, look, I think that what we have to realize is that right now there is no more important issue in this country than education. The reason why we have a lot of the other issues that we have, the reason why we have 70% of my generation going down a socialist path is all because of education or a lack thereof. And what I mean when I say that is when you look at our colleges and universities across this country, they have done an incredible job at indoctrinating a lot of young minds with this socialistic mindset. I think that there needs to be more accountability on the university campuses, making sure that professors are just teaching the core curriculum and not injecting their own political bias into that. Because I don't think when you look at where we're headed in this country, I don't think we're headed in the right path. But the only way that we can get out of that is by education and helping educate the minds that are falling victim to this socialistic scam, if you will, that people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders are perpetuating.
Last question, is there anything you want to add? Anything you want people to know?
Well, one thing that I will say in terms of what I bring to the table is a candidate with real experience. I worked in Congress for 6.5 years, and it's important that we have someone who truly understands how to get policy implemented, policy through the process, and policy signed into law. That is critical. And I think that I'm a candidate that can certainly do that. In the time that I worked with Congressman McCall, I was his right hand and advised him on a number of issues, everything from energy to foreign policy, education, trade, defense. These are all things that I'm a student, and I think I can really put to use in Congress for this district. But we also have to make sure that we have someone who can truly help keep Texas red, someone who can reach out to minority communities, help broaden this umbrella of Republicanism, and help educate people on the importance of and what it means to truly be a Republican.